TechExcel is proud to host our 2012 webcast series. We hold informative webinars on various topics each month throughout the year. Please visit our website at techexcel.com for our current list of webinars. Regarding today's webinar, I do encourage all of you to use the question function located in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Just type in your question and we will answer them at the end of today's discussion. I'd like to introduce today's speaker, Mark Mann. Mark Mann is the Regional Sales Director here at TechExcel. Hi, Mark.
Good afternoon, Renee. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Great. I wonder if you can see my screen.
We can see your screen. It looks good.
Okay, super. Well, I wanted to welcome everybody to our webinar. I certainly appreciate you taking the time out. Today we're going to be discussing TechExcel's ServiceWise U. This is an IT service management solution for universities, colleges, and campuses alike. Just a minute about our company. We've been around for over 15 years. We're privately held, so we're not beholden to anyone but our customers. We have our corporate headquarters in the Bay Area, and we have additional offices in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, here on the East Coast, which is where I'm dialing in from, and an international presence as well. If you were to look at our website, you'd see that we basically offer two types of solutions. On the left, application lifecycle management for software developers, and on the right is our IT service management and customer support offering, which is what we're going to be covering today. In case your university or company does have both software developers and support personnel, these suites of software can actually talk to each other because they can share a database. But today our focus is going to be on the IT service management side with a product called ServiceWise. ServiceWise U, we've dubbed that ServiceWise U because we found that it's a great fit for our university customers. ServiceWise has been around for over 12 years. We're currently at release version 9.0. And while we have some customers with as few as 3 support agents, we have some customers that have as many as 3,000. We are an ITIL-focused solution. Incident, problem, and change management is included with our base module, so it's not an expensive add-on. And because the solution is so flexible, we see it used across a number of different institutions and companies. We know no specific vertical, but as I mentioned, we are an extremely good fit for universities. We allow you to have a single data source for your IT service management needs. Multi-department support. A lot of times in universities you'll see that various service desks pop up all around the university, say the College of Arts and Sciences or the School of Medicine, whatever it might be. With ServiceWise U, we allow you to have one central depository for your information that all of these places can access, or if you care to have independent and autonomous service desks that can still interoperate, we can do that as well. Our product comes with role-based access, so your faculty, students, and staff, when they log into a portal, they might see a different presentation than the other groups. We have a graphical workflow. We do integrate with Banner, and as I mentioned before, we can integrate with our sister product, DevTrack. Now, these are just a few of the universities and colleges that are enjoying the benefits of ServiceWise. So hopefully you'll see one you might recognize. And now I'd like to just cover a couple of base concepts or about our product. The first is that we operate on a project methodology or a project architecture. If you look at the bottom, you'll see what we call a base project. The base project is where we house all the information about your employees, your students, their contact information, the knowledge base, the assets they might have, information that you would likely bring over from Banner or Active Directory. This information is stored in the base project. Up top, we have what we call a work project. And a work project is where we store all the information about your workflow, your business rules, your notifications and escalations. That's housed in a work project. And what's unique about ServiceWise is that we allow you to have as many of these work projects as you care to. So, for example, you can have tech support that would handle incident management. And over here, you could have a wholly separate workflow that would handle change management, and perhaps a human resources project as well. Think of these projects as a separate instance of the ServiceWise product with their own members, with their own workflows, with their own business rules. But since they share the same base project, they have the ability to interoperate. So, for example, an incident can come in, escalate, and turn into a request for change. It can launch a change request to this project where it goes through an entirely different workflow, and then when this is complete, it will report back to tech support or incident management that that's been done. And I'll actually show you a demonstration of that shortly. Another key concept is the notion of states and transitions. The squares represent states, the blue arrows represent transitions. And we do this and do it well, but our customers have told us that this is rather daisy chain or serial in its approach. So we've added what we've called an advanced task-driven workflow. And what that means is a single submission can actually launch a request or down different paths at the same time or concurrently. And all along the way, we can actually trigger different events or tasks. And those are represented by these yellow bullets. And these tasks can be reported upon, managed, and it allows you to make sure things don't fall between the cracks. And I'll give you an example of that as well in our demo. ServiceWise allows you to automatically route tickets to technicians based on skill level, workload, or a combination of both. It allows you to automatically escalate tickets. If a ticket is in someone's queue too long and hasn't seen any activity, it can be reassigned. Auto notification, not only for your tech members, but for your employees or students to let them know that you have received their request or their submission. We allow you to have any number of different SLAs if you care to. Asset management. I mentioned Active Directory or banner integration. The auto-suggestion of knowledge articles for customer self-service, and the event workflow that you saw in a previous slide. Now what you're looking at now is an example of an employee web portal. This is one of my commercial customers, but the reason I show it to you is first to show you that we allow you to brand these employee web portals, and also I wanted you to contrast the difference in the layout of this one and with East Carolina University, for example, or Appalachian State University. So you can see that there's a wide range of how you can format your employee or student web portal. So with that, we'll jump into a demonstration. So hopefully you can see our employee web portal or student web portal. This is Bill Dole that has logged in. And the first thing I'd like to caution you about is that the demo system that I'm using today is very full-featured. That is, we've configured it to where it will show you most all of the features of ServiceWise. That's not to say that you have to incorporate all of these features when you roll out or deploy your solution, but the idea is just to give you an understanding of how feature-rich the product is. So again, I'm Dole. I'm an employee at this university, and the first thing I call your attention to are these specific squares. Now these squares are what we call web announcements. And what my customers like about web announcements is that you can be very targeted in terms of who sees these web announcements. So, for example, if you wanted the School of Medicine only to see these announcements down here, you could have it to where only those members in the School of Medicine saw that particular announcement. Or if you wanted to be so targeted as to let only one person see a report, then you could have it to where Bill Dole would be the only person that could see this specific report whenever he logged in. The other thing that my customers like about the Employee Web Portal is that any privileged user can come and stack web announcements to where they'll be automatically rotated out. So if you wanted to do like a tech tip of the week and have that appear on a specific web announcement on a weekly basis, you could do that. If you look here, this is what we call the Service Center update. I have this annoying scrolling marquee here to illustrate that we do support HTML in case you want to put an eye-catching GIF file. Here we're letting our customers know, or our employees and staff know, that email is down for scheduled maintenance. So this is a way that we handle call avoidance. If you look further down, you'll see we have a number of different templates, and we'll talk about that later. We can do a knowledge search directly from the home page. We'll talk about that later. And we also have a number of Bill Dole's tickets where he can come in and he can actually update these tickets if any changes are needed. Now, if I look over here at Incident List, what I'm going to see is a subset of what I saw on the home page. I'm going to see all the incidents that Bill Dole has opened. But what this specific screen allows me to do that the other didn't is now I can look at closed incidents. And I never thought that that would be that important until my customers told me a lot of times their students or employees will submit a specific ticket and then they'll forget what the resolution is. So by showing closed incidents, you're allowing your employees to reference maybe an old solution to a problem that they've already had. They're again allowing you to have a measure of call avoidance. Another feature of this specific screen is, if you care to, you can allow Bill Dole to be a single point of contact. So here, for example, if he looks in the or if he looks at this specific corporate California, he can also see other people's incidents, in this case Anna Hardaway. So there again allowing you to have single points of contacts for specific schools or the like. We also allow your employees or your students to come and search on specific data that you might be capturing if they think they remember what a problem they had was about and they want to find the answer. We also have this Employee Information tab. This is where information would likely come over from Banner or Active Directory. And this is a two-way synchronization service. So, for example, if you wanted to allow your students, employees to enter their cell phone, that could be something that was written back to your single point of truth. We also allow you to support different date and time formats, different themes, and the like. We do give your employees, or you may give your employees and students, the ability to do some light reporting if you like, and that's what this is all about. And we also have a knowledge base. Now, you're responsible for populating the knowledge base. This takes just a few seconds to refresh. There we go. So if you look over to the left, you're going to see sort of an Explorer-like format, and whatever you see on the left is going to drive the contents of the frame on the right. And again, you decide what the structure is, and you actually populate the contents of the knowledge. Now, I should say that we do have two types of knowledge: public knowledge for your students, employees, and staff, and faculty, sorry. And we also have private knowledge, which would only be accessible by your technicians. And we also offer, in one of our most recent offerings or versions, is a service catalog. And the service catalog allows you to display any number of service offerings that you're having. So for example, if you wanted to allow your faculty or your staff the ability to come in and order a specific desktop, perhaps they want to configure a system, then they can do that, and it will actually generate a specific request. So you can see number 1882, and you can actually have it to where that request would be routed to your executive upline for approval. They wouldn't even have to be licensed users, and once they approved it, then it could promote this request into your workflow. Well, let's go now and submit a new incident. So I'd mentioned before we have a choice of any number of different templates. If I look here at new trouble ticket or hardware request, for example, on hardware request, I'm going to see a template to where all of the contents of the template are pre-populated. And we do that for two reasons. One is we don't want it to take longer for your technician to fill out, for your employee to fill out a ticket than it takes for your tech to resolve it. And we also want to protect the integrity of your data. Now we'll call your attention to a specific style change too, or option. Here we have the ability to select a specific checkbox. Now contrast that with the new trouble ticket. Now I don't have any thing pre-populated, and I don't have any checkboxes. So I'm just going to say I can't access email on my BlackBerry. And I come down here to category. By the way, you decide exactly what these labels are. I come to category and I indicate that this is an email issue, and I have a master detail relationship set up between category and category detail. And so email issues should drive the contents over here, where if I chose connectivity, I'd see different types choices. I come in here and I click email, but by design I don't see BlackBerry. And the reason I don't see that is I wanted to show you how easy it is to add. So I'm going to go over here to the the administrative console, and I'm going to look at the description page. And if you'll notice, I have some of the same fields, or many of the same fields that Bill Dole sees, except I've hidden a few from him, and I have this category detail. So if I double click on category detail, this is where I can populate the contents of that drop-down box. So I'm going to say I want to have a new choice here, new option. I click OK. We'll see BlackBerry added. And if I click on reset, that'll re-alphabetize it, and I click on OK. But my work isn't done because I have the parent-child relationship. So I'm going to say if the parent is email, then I want BlackBerry to populate in the subcategory. So that's what that checkbox did. Perhaps I want to change a label. So I'm going to abbreviate that category detail. Now if I wanted to make certain fields visible, editable, mandatory, or read-only, I could do all of that from this screen, but for now we're just going to click OK. Then we're going to push this out to the web server. We'll get a confirmation that that specific change has taken. And then when we go back to Bill Dole, we're going to refresh our browser, submit the trouble ticket, and you'll see already that the label change has taken effect. And I'm going to say, can't access email on BlackBerry. And now when I click on email, if I did my job, I'll see BlackBerry as an option. Now the reason I went through that exercise is that's how every change is made to our product. It's all point, click, and key. You don't have to reboot this machine. You don't have to do scripting or programming. You don't even have to knock anybody off the server. So let's go ahead and submit this. Now if I wanted to associate, if I had assigned a BlackBerry to Bill Dole, then he might see this in the drop-down box, but I haven't. If I wanted to actually come in here and add any number of specific files, I could do that. But for now, I'm just going to click Submit, and it's going to go and search the knowledge base, and it's going to come back with articles that might hit me. So this is another example of customer self-service. If I look here at any number of these articles, I can see that they've been ranked relative to their effectiveness. I look here at this specific knowledge article, and once it refreshes, we'll see that if you're having trouble getting email on your BlackBerry, this article is no help. So we'll move on, and what we'll do is we'll start working this specific ticket, number 1883. So now I'm going to log in as Terry Johnson. Now, Terry Johnson is a working manager, and that means that not only does he have a team of support agents that work with him, but he also takes tickets himself. And the first thing you'll see at his homepage when he logs in is that he has the same marquee that we saw, or the students or faculty and staff are seeing in terms of the email outage warning. And he has the ability to configure exactly what he sees on what we call the dashboard. So, for example, if he wants to move his calendar to different locations, or any of these web announcements to different locations, he can. If he wants to come in here and update his tickets, he can. Or if he wants to look at specific incidents owned by other members of his staff, he can do that. He can even publish reports for him to view, and if he clicks on a specific graph, then he'll actually go to the raw data. Most of the time, though, he'll be over here at the incident view. And the first thing I'd call your attention to on the incident view is the ability to come in here and filter this information. So, for example, if Terry wants to see all the tickets from all the employee, student, and faculty, he can do that from here. But if he wants to see what one specific team member is working on, maybe he wants to see what Matt Peterson's working on. These are all the tickets that Matt's currently working. He can also come in and slice and dice it even further and say, maybe I want to see just what Matt's working on in level 1. So that gives him the ability to really pinpoint exactly the information that he's looking for. He also has the ability to come and prepare a query. In this specific query, he can capture any kind of data that we're capturing in the ticket. He can relate it across a specific time frame or asset, and then he can either immediately get the result, or he can save this as a specific private query, which only he could access, or public that his whole team could access. Another thing that's available, visual cue or customization that your analyst can do, or the incident list view. So if we look at the settings, we can see that these are the headings that are currently being displayed in the incident view. Now, it might be that Terry Johnson works his day by looking at the specific or how long a ticket has been open. So he can certainly do that just by adding that field. And now when we do a refresh on the screen, we can see that days open are now available. So let's go start working this ticket. I'm going to click on 1883. Oops, I didn't mention just 2 more visual cues. One's the starburst indicate that this is a brand new ticket that hasn't been ever touched, and the flag indicates that there's been some communication from the employee, faculty, student, or staff that we haven't yet answered. So let's open up 1883. If we look here at the incident description, this shows us all the information that Bill Dole filled out about this ticket. If we look at status, that's going to tell us the current state of this ticket, level 1. We'll also see that a support plan, or SLA, has automatically been assigned to this specific issue based on how it was completed. And since it's an urgent issue, we are now beholden to these specific times relative to response, restore, and resolve times for our service level agreement. Now, you don't have to use service level agreements, but that's something that's available to you. You can also allow your techs to actually modify the service level or support plan based on what their read is on the ticket, and when they do that, it will change the specific times that you need to respond. Now, if you look up here to the left, you'll see what we call these blue buttons, or what we call the transitions. And let me show you where they're coming from. If I go over to the administrative console and then to the workflow and workflow design, I see that this ticket is presently in level 1. I've got two options. I can either escalate to level 2 or resolved. And that's exactly what appears on those transition buttons. So let's pretend that we're hiring a few new technicians, and we want to review what they wish to escalate, just to make sure that things aren't thrown over the fence too quickly. Maybe we'll do this, modify workflow for a couple of weeks. The way we do that is just come up here and right-click, add a state, and I'm going to call this escalation review. And I'm going to click OK. And so now we have a brand new state. And we need a way to get into that state. So from level 1, I'm just going to click this transition or create this transition that says please review. And if we have a way to get in a state, we need a way to get out. So I'm going to first say that we're going to approve for escalation. And then I'll add another one that says rejected. Once again, I push that out. I get a confirmation that the web server has been updated. So let's see, I see that. And now when I go back to Terry Johnson and I refresh my browser here, see that the transition has now been added, please review. So I was just able to make a few, again, points and clicks and instantly modify my workflow. But what's more, it's more than a pretty picture, because if I go over here and send this up to please review, let me show you what else you can do. I'm going to go back to the admin, go to workflow settings, and I see that there's the state I just added. Well, if I want to, I can come and I can actually designate who can own the ticket when it's in escalation review, who can change it, what fields are read-only, invisible, or mandatory. So I can really add some business rules and logic to my program or to my workflow from this specific screen. Let's go back and continue with this ticket. So now I'm just going to say approved for escalation. I'm going to click submit. Now I'm back in level 1. I go to escalate to level 2. I click submit. And now let's take a look at our history. We have a graphical representation of everywhere this ticket's been, very quick look. And then if I want, I can come down here to change log, and I have an audit trail with date and time stamp and who changed what to what, from what to what. Now if I go back into the ticket, I also have the ability to click on events. And I mentioned this before in the PowerPoint, where you can come in and you can actually create different tasks that might be associated with this ticket, either on an ad hoc basis or an automatic basis, and I'll cover this in a few minutes later. I can also see all the incidents that Bill Dole has opened up. Perhaps I notice a specific trend. I can look at his specific assets. Perhaps if this ticket had been about this his Dimension desktop, I could come and see that other incidents that have been applied against that specific asset. I also have the ability to send Bill Dole an email from directly from within the product here. And I also have the ability to do a web conversation. A web conversation is kind of like chat, except it doesn't tie your agents to their desktop, but it does tie their conversation or dialogue with the specific ticket. So I'm going to say, Bill, what model is your BlackBerry? And I'm going to click submit, and we can see there's part of the web conversation. And if I quickly go over here into the mail, then we're going to see that Bill Dole is possibly going to be receiving some notification that says that that ticket has been updated and that there's a web conversation that's pending or a query. So if we look at here first at the 1883, which is that ticket we're working, first of all, we're going to see that I've developed a rule that we're going to acknowledge that this ticket has been successfully submitted. And so that's what this is. Now my mail server's a little slow, so I'm sure I'm going to get that other ticket. But if I were, here's an example of one that shows you an email correspondence that shows an update to a web conversation. And here I can look and see that Bill Dole has received a notification that the web conversation's been updated. And what's nice is we can allow you to embed a link to where if Bill Dole clicks on that, he can automatically go to that email and respond to that specific web conversation. Okay, so let's go back into the incident view in here, and there are just a couple of more things I wanted to show you. One is that let's figure that we've worked this specific ticket, and we've decided that we have to have a change. We have to upgrade all of our Exchange servers in order to support this BlackBerry. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to request a change, and I'll click Submit. And this goes back to the PowerPoint where when I enter a specific incident in one project, it can be or interoperate with another project. So I'm just going to click Continue here, and let me show you what happens. We're going to go back to Terry Johnson's screen, and it just so happens he's a member of Change Management. So if he looks over here at Change Management and the Change Request view, he's going to see that he's gotten a notification or a new request for change ID from the support group, and it's this Can't Access BlackBerry. He can look here, and now he can go ahead and move this through an entirely different workflow, and in doing so, it can follow a wholly separate path. So if I come over here to Change Management and look at the workflow, now I can see a completely different workflow with different rules and members. And so perhaps I go through the acceptance and classification, build work breakdown structure, implement, and once this is all completed, I can then notify Bill Dole or tech support that the Exchange servers have been upgraded, and now Bill Dole's BlackBerry should work. And I meant to show you when I'm in Change Management. Let me go back to that, to Terry Johnson. And if I access this specific incident, what's nice is, or this request for change, I can click on the Links tab, and it will show me exactly where that issue came from. And if I click on this link, then I can see all the information that occurred and all the actions that were taken when this specific incident was in the tech support project. Now, I wanted to show you something else. So let's leave the BlackBerry example. Let's go back to Incident Management, and let's pretend that we have a phone call from Human Resources. And HR is calling to tell us that we have a new employee coming on board, and they want the tech support group to do all that they do in order to accommodate that new employee. So I'm going to click on New Incident, and this time I'm going to say that this is a new hire request. And I click Next. And now look, I have different categories that are available to me. I'm going to go ahead and fill this out, and I'm going to say this is a new hire, a new position. The new hire name is Stephen. He's going to be a manager. His department's going to be customer support, and he's going to start tomorrow. And if I have any notes, I can do that here, maybe some attachment, and I click Submit. Now this time, 1884, it's a brand new ticket. This time it isn't a different project. It's just a different lane, a different swim lane in my workflow. And you'll see it right here, very simple two-step process. Begin new hire, and complete new hire. So let's go back. And I'm going to click Begin the New Hire Process. I click Submit, and look what's happened. I've automatically generated 3 events. One's mandatory, one's optional no, one's optional yes. And look, they're assigned to different people or different teams. If I click Continue, then those specific tasks are assigned to those specific groups, and perhaps I've got a rule in there to send those people an email as well. If I look under the Events tab, I see that those 3 tasks have been created, and now let's say that I'm going to complete the new hire process. So I click Submit, and look, I have actually added a workflow rule to say, no, you can't complete the new hire because these 3 tasks are still outstanding. So let me go back to here and show you a different view you can have on your incident list. So now I can see all the tasks that are associated with this specific ticket. And as these events are closed, then what can happen is I can create some more automation in my workflow to where this ticket will automatically be promoted to the next level, the next step in the workflow. And I've got some customers that have up to 10, 15 different check boxes for steps. And it doesn't have to be just the new hire process. It can be any collaborative process. Now, one last thing I wanted to show you. As you might imagine, we come with any number of different canned reports. So if you look over to the left here, we see close to 50 different canned reports, including incident list, tabular, distribution. We have events, how we're doing against service levels, service track time, and what have you. But something that we also offer in our report view is something called a web query report. So let's just pull up that incident list real quick. And this is exactly how our management likes to see this specific report. Well, now what we can do is click on this Define Web Query, and when we click Submit, it's going to generate a URL. And what's nice about this URL is it goes directly to the data. So what does that mean to us? That means we can take this URL and we can open a browser, or perhaps we can put it in an email, and we can send it out. Now we have an HTML representation of that report. What's more is, if we actually have a state change, perhaps this specific ticket went from level 1 to level 2, then the next time we refreshed our browser, we could actually see that that change was made. So these are dynamic reports, and they're accessible by non-licensed users. And what's more is that Microsoft Excel actually supports web reports. So if I come in here from open up an Excel session and go data from web, I can actually place that web query link right there, and I can import this data into Microsoft Excel. And what's so important about that is now I can manipulate this data, apply any kind of formulas I wish to, and I can do that very easily. Just with a few clicks, I can go ahead and build a specific report. And what's nice is I only have to do this a couple of times. Excuse me, I only have to do this one time. Now this report is available to me or a manager every time they open this specific Excel spreadsheet. And what's more is it's dynamic. So as changes are being made throughout the day to your incidents, you can actually see those reflected in this. So I've got some customers that used to spend maybe 4 hours collating data, once every Monday morning for all of their managers. Now they're able just to prepare a spreadsheet one time and have all of that data readily available to them. So that's the nickel tour of ServiceWise. And Renee, perhaps we can switch it over for any kind of questions.
Sure. You know what, Mark? Thank you so much. We are running out of time, and I think we'll handle all of our questions offline and follow up with everyone individually. But I want to thank everyone for attending today, and we will send out a recording of today's webinar as well as make it available at techexcel.com. Mark, was there anything else that you'd like to say before we sign off?
I'd just like to thank everyone for attending. I'm sorry we had a couple of technical difficulties, and thanks for helping us weather through that, and certainly look forward to any sort of questions you have, or possibly scheduling a private demo.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark, and thank you, Yushing. Have a good day. Thank